All right. So you know how much we love digging into the research you send our way. And this time, you guys sent in a really fascinating article.
Yeah.
It's brand new from the Educational Psychology Review this year called Advancing Self-Reports of Self-Regulated Learning, Validating New Measures to Assess Students' Beliefs, Practices, and Challenges
Wow.
by Allison F. Hadwin, Raman Rostampur, and Philip H. Wynn.
Okay.
And I got to say, the thing that really grabbed my attention right off the bat was this whole idea that the way you think about your own learning, like how you perceive it, could actually be a huge predictor of how well you do in your studies.
You hit the nail on the head right there. That's really the heart of this research, you know?
Yeah.
It's all about self-regulated learning, or SRL for short.
Yeah.
And it's basically like your own personal internal compass that kind of guides your study habits, you know?
Yeah.
Helps you make those choices about how you're going to approach learning in the future. But the really cool question that this study digs into is, how good are we at actually assessing our own learning? You know, can we really predict our own success, or are we going to run into some roadblocks? Can we really see those coming?
Yeah, it's like looking into a crystal ball almost.
Exactly.
Trying to predict the future of our own learning.
Precisely. And, you know, we often rely so heavily on students to tell us about their learning experiences. But I wonder, you know, have we been asking the right questions?
Right. Have we been giving them the right tools to even understand what's happening in their own minds?
That's a great point. I mean, think about it. We have all this fancy technology and sophisticated methods for analyzing data about learning. But when it comes to understanding the student's own perspective, sometimes we're still stuck with these pretty basic questionnaires.
Yeah, like a multiple choice quiz about how you feel.
Exactly.
It doesn't always capture the nuances.
No, it doesn't. And that's what this study really set out to do. You know, they wanted to create something much more refined.
Okay, so they were on a mission to improve those tools. And they tested these new tools out with a couple groups of university students.
That's right.
So what were these tools actually designed to find out? You said they came up with 4 main ways of looking at self-regulated learning.
Yeah, so the first one they call SRL self-efficacy.
Okay.
And this one basically measures your confidence in managing your own learning.
Okay, so not just confidence in general,
Right, it's not just a feeling.
but confidence in your ability to take charge of your learning.
Yeah, things like, you know, planning out your study sessions, staying on track, and feeling like you're really in control of the whole process.
So like I can set my own goals and achieve them.
Exactly. And they actually break this down into 4 specific areas of confidence.
Oh, interesting. Okay, break it down for me.
So first is your confidence in setting learning goals that are realistic and meaningful to you.
Okay.
Then there's managing your time effectively. You know, making sure you have enough time to study and you're not cramming everything in at the last minute.
Right.
And then there's managing your study environment. So making sure it's a place where you can focus and avoid distractions.
So no TV, no phone, no nothing.
Exactly. You got it.
Just me and my books.
And finally, there's confidence in monitoring your own understanding as you go. You know, being able to recognize when you're getting something and when you need a little extra help.
And not being afraid to ask for help.
Exactly. That's key.
I think a lot of students struggle with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's SRL self-efficacy,
That's number 1.
confidence in the driver's seat.
Exactly.
What about the second measure? What was that all about?
So the second one is called SRL importance.
Okay, importance.
Yeah, and this one is all about how much you value different parts of being a self-regulated learner.
So like you might be good at something, but if you don't think it's important,
You're probably not going to do it.
yeah, you're not going to prioritize it.
Exactly. And like self-efficacy, this measure also breaks down importance into a few key aspects.
Give me the rundown.
All right, so first is how much you value setting clear learning goals for yourself.
Okay, I can see how that would be important.
Right, it gives you direction.
Yeah.
Then there's valuing active engagement with the material. So, you know, not just passively reading or listening, but really trying to make connections and think critically about what you're learning.
So like actually highlighting and taking notes and stuff.
Yeah, all those active strategies.
Okay.
Then there's understanding how well you're progressing towards your goals. You know, being able to track your own learning and make adjustments if needed.
So like checking in with yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And finally, there's valuing adaptability, being able to change your approach when things get tough or when you encounter something new.
Oh, that's a good one. I think a lot of people get stuck in their ways.
It's so important to be flexible.
Yeah. So that's SRL importance.
Yep, that's number 2.
What about number 3? What do they call that one?
So the third measure dives into the actual nitty-gritty of studying.
Oh.
It's called self-regulated learning practices.
Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. This is all about the strategies you actually use when you hit the books.
All right, give me the details.
So this one is a bit more in-depth. It actually looks at 6 different types of practices.
6. Wow. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so first there's planning and organizing your study time. So, creating a schedule, setting aside specific times for studying and breaking down large tasks into smaller chunks.
I need to get better at that.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Then there are the specific learning techniques you use, things like summarizing your notes, explaining concepts to yourself in your own words, creating flashcards or diagrams, whatever helps you really process the information.
Right. All the different study methods out there.
Exactly. And then there's seeking help when you need it, reaching out to your professor, your TA, a classmate, or even a tutor if you're struggling with something.
Sometimes I get stuck and I feel like I should know it,
Yeah.
but it's just not clicking.
Yeah, we've all been there. And it's so much better to ask for help than to just spin your wheels. Okay, so the 4th practice is all about managing your study environment, making sure it's a place where you can really focus. So minimizing distractions like your phone, the TV, social media, all that stuff.
Yeah. Silence your phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the 5th practice is checking your understanding as you learn. So things like testing yourself, quizzing yourself, trying to explain concepts to someone else.
So not just assuming you know it, but actually testing yourself.
Right, because sometimes we think we understand something, but then when we try to explain it or apply it, we realize we don't have it quite yet.
It's like when you think you know how to get somewhere and then you get lost.
Exactly. You got to check that map.
Yeah. Okay, what's the 6th practice?
So the 6th and final practice is evaluating your learning after you're done studying. So thinking about what worked well, what didn't work so well, and how you might approach things differently next time.
So like a debrief with yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, so those are the 6 self-regulated learning practices.
That's right.
And I'm guessing the 4th measure is about what can go wrong.
You got it. The 4th measure is all about the academic challenges, those obstacles that can sometimes make learning a bit of a struggle.
Okay, so what are some of the challenges they were looking at?
Well, like the previous measure, this one also has 6 parts.
Okay, lay it on me.
All right, so first there's struggling with managing your workload and time, feeling overwhelmed by all the assignments, deadlines, and readings.
Yeah, that's a big one, especially in university.
That's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
Then there's having trouble understanding the course material itself. Maybe the concepts are really complex or the professor's teaching style just doesn't quite click with you.
Or maybe the textbook is just really dense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what else?
So the 3rd challenge is feeling unmotivated or disengaged. Maybe you're just not that interested in the subject or you're feeling burnt out and it's hard to find the energy to study.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't feel like it.
It happens to the best of us. And then there's experiencing anxiety around tests or performance. That fear of failure or feeling like you're not going to measure up.
Oh, test anxiety is the worst.
It can really get in the way.
Yeah.
So the 5th challenge is dealing with distractions. Both internal distractions like your own thoughts and worries and external distractions like noise from your roommates or social media notifications.
Oh, yeah, like you're trying to study, but your mind keeps wandering.
It's tough to stay focused.
Yeah, and then your phone buzzes and it's all over.
Exactly.
Okay, and what's the final challenge?
So the last one is feeling like you don't have enough support in your learning environment. Maybe you don't feel comfortable asking your professor for help or you don't have a strong study group.
So like you feel isolated in your learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got our 4 measures.
That's right.
Confidence, importance, practices, and challenges.
You got it.
And they had to make sure these measures were actually measuring what they were supposed to do.
Absolutely. That's so important. They couldn't just create these questionnaires and assume they were good to go.
Right, they had to test them out, make sure they were reliable and valid.
Exactly. And that's where this term psychometric adequacy comes in.
Okay, so what does that actually mean?
So basically it means they put these new measures through the ringer. They use some pretty complex statistical analyses to confirm that each measure was consistent and accurate.
So like if you took the questionnaire multiple times, you get similar results.
Exactly. That's reliability.
And validity means?
Validity means it's actually measuring what it's supposed to be measuring.
Right, so they're not just random questions.
No, they're carefully chosen to tap into specific aspects of SRL.
Okay, so that's psychometric adequacy.
Yep.
And that basically tells us that these tools are trustworthy.
Exactly. We can have confidence in the results.
Okay, so now the big question for me, and I bet for a lot of our listeners, is Do my answers on these questionnaires actually tell anyone anything about how I'm going to do in my studies?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And the good news is this study found some pretty compelling connections between what students reported about their learning and their actual academic performance.
Okay, so it wasn't just all in their heads.
No, there were real-world implications.
That's great to hear. Give me some examples.
Okay, so for instance, if you reported that you really prioritized planning your learning and you felt confident doing those basic academic things like showing up for class, keeping up with the reading,
Yeah.
you are more likely to do well overall in your courses.
So it's like being prepared sets you up for success.
Exactly. It suggests that those initial beliefs and intentions really do translate into outcomes.
That makes sense.
Right. And it's not just about planning either. They also found a strong link between using those self-regulated learning practices and academic performance.
So things like summarizing, seeking help, checking your understanding.
Exactly. The more students reported using those strategies, the better their grades tended to be.
So it's not just about feeling good about learning?
No, it's about putting those good habits into action.
Right, actually doing the work.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But you mentioned there was one finding that the researchers really highlighted.
Yeah, this one was particularly interesting, and it might not be what you'd expect.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
So it was all about task understanding.
Task understanding.
Yeah, basically how well a student felt they understood the assignment or the learning goal.
Oh,
And this turned out to be a really strong predictor of academic performance, even stronger than some of the other study practices.
really? But understanding the task seems so basic.
I know, right? It seems obvious. But what's fascinating is that it suggests that simply using a bunch of study techniques isn't enough.
So it's not just about having all the tools in your toolbox.
No, the foundation is really understanding what you're being asked to do in the first place.
So like you could be a whiz at note-taking and summarizing,
Yeah.
but if you don't actually get what the assignment is asking you to do,
Those skills might not help you that much.
it's like having a fancy sports car but not knowing where you're going.
Exactly. You might be able to drive really fast, but you'll end up lost.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So the takeaway here is really make sure you understand the task before you even start thinking about how you're going to study.
That's a great way to put it.
And they actually did another study that digs deeper into this whole task understanding thing.
Yeah. They referenced a study from last year that explores the role of task understanding in even more detail.
So it's clearly something they're really interested in.
Absolutely. Seems to be a key piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so to bring it all back to this deep dive,
Yeah.
the main idea here is that what we believe about our learning and how we approach it really matters.
Exactly. It's not just about natural talent or intelligence.
Right. It's about understanding our own learning process and using that knowledge to our advantage.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that this research gives us some really concrete tools to do that.
Yeah, those 4 measures we talked about.
Yep, those are a great starting point for anyone who wants to become a more self-aware and effective learner.
So as a listener, what are some things I can do with this information?
Well, the first thing is to just take some time for self-reflection. Think about your own confidence when it comes to planning. How much do you value different learning skills? What strategies do you typically use when you study? And what challenges do you tend to face?
So almost like taking an inventory of your learning habits and beliefs.
Exactly. And once you have a better understanding of those things, you can start to identify areas where you might want to focus your efforts.
So like if I realize I'm not very good at breaking down tasks or asking for help,
Those might be some areas you could work on.
and if I tend to jump into assignments without really understanding them,
That might be a signal to slow down and spend more time analyzing the task before you dive in.
right, understanding the task is key.
Absolutely.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
Yeah,
I feel like I have a much better grasp on self-regulated learning now.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I think our listeners will get a lot out of it too.
I hope so.
So to wrap things up, this research by Hadwin, Rostempour, and Nguyen really shows us that what we believe about our learning and how we approach it, as reported by ourselves, are significant indicators of how our academic journey is likely to unfold.
They're powerful clues.
And the research really highlights the importance of something we often overlook, truly understanding the task at hand.
Don't skip that step.
So here's a final thought for our listeners to ponder. Considering everything we've discussed, what's one aspect of your own self-regulated learning that you might want to explore or develop further? Maybe it's your confidence in planning, or how you typically approach a new assignment. How do your own perceptions align with what these researchers have found, and how might that be influencing your learning experiences? We encourage you to take your own deep dive into how you learn and use these insights to become even more successful in your academic endeavors.
It's a journey worth taking.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.
See you then.